Hello everyone, and welcome to another installment of Dwellers in the Dark and our army lists. And this is another army list for Nova, the 800 point GT that's been held in September. Okay, so cracking on. This one is a question I received actually a few months ago, and I do apologise for the delay. This is from Matt C. LOTBR. LOTBR. I'm sure that might mean Lord of the Rings Battle Realms. I have no idea. Anyway, Matt, this is in reply to your question. And he said, "Hello again. I've been discussing army ideas with my friends recently, and I figure I'd ask you too. So technically, this will be for Nova. I'll just start with that. Otherwise, I'll definitely use it in friendly games. Basically, I was thinking of an army that looks like this. Witch King on Armoured Horse, Dwimmelake on Armoured Horse, Taskmaster, then either a Shaman, Grishnak, etc., or similar pointed models. Fit in about 5 Warg Riders, a couple of Fell Wargs, and basically around 18 Morannons with shield and 18 with spear and shield." Now, he does say, I know it doesn't look great, but can you break down how bad you actually think it is, and just general comments? Would you ever try to fit in 2 ring rates at 800 points? Okay, so I'm going to shoot in here by saying yes, I'd definitely look at 2 ring rates at 800 points. I look personally at ring rates on Fell Beasts, and my ring rate choice would definitely be for the Mordor list, or potentially the Angmar / 2 ring rates from the Umbar list. I'm not too sure about the Betrayer. Anyway, and Angmar, you're looking at Tainted, Dwimmelake, or Witch King. For Mordor, I definitely like the Witch King with his ability to... your staff is broken. That's on a bit of a 5+ roll. And I really like the Undying. The Undying, because as his name suggests, is very, very difficult to defeat. Combinations like Floy and Legolas together would be something that might hold him up. But then you're looking at a Dwarf list with Fellowship of the Ring coming in to allow that combination over, or even a White Council. So getting back on track, at 800 points, I'd look at getting at least 1-2 ring rates in, possibly because I have a soft spot for Fell Beasts. I'd like to see Fell Beasts in there as well. So, but before we crack on with that, let's look at your list. And you haven't given me an indication of where you want the various things pointed. So what I've done is I've written out the list. Unfortunately, the Lone Wolf Army Builder system that I use doesn't allow Fell Wargs to be put in just yet as individual models, and they can only be put in with a captain, so I've left them out, but I'll talk down through the points at the end of that. Okay, so to start off with, we have the Witch King on Angmar on an armoured horse. We have 6 Morannon Orcs with spears and shield, and then we have 6 Morannon Orcs with just shields. The second squad there, I'll actually put in the Taskmaster. I'll put in a Morannon Orc with shield and spear, and Morannon Orc with just shields, 6 of each again. So that's hitting 12 of both there. Then I went for the Dwimmelake, and because he's already on Armoured Horse, I thought I'd put in the Warg Riders into that unit to give a bit of mobility, and kind of a mobility unit. The Dwimmelake is very, very good, and his ability to soak up your opponent's might, or their ability to use might, is fantastic. On 4+, they've got to use an extra point of might, which in most circumstances can be nasty, very, very nasty indeed. And then the last warband, I put in the Mordor Orc Shaman, and then I put in 5 Morannon Orcs with spear and shield, and 7 Morannon Orcs with just shield. The reason I split it 5-7 is so that extra point left over from not equipping one with a spear allowed me to get in 5 Fell Wargs out of the remaining points that were left. So that's the list. What do I think of the list? Now, I personally like Fell Beast, and if I'm going to bring a ring raid, I like to protect it on a Fell Beast. Aside from that, your list seems to show the desire to soak up your enemy's might by the use of the Dwimlake. Excellent model, 12-inch range, nasty. And then to increase your very, very low might, because I believe you only have 6 might on the board in this instance. If you were to change the Orc Shaman to, we'll say, Grishnak, you'd have an extra 2, so that could be 8 points of might in total. But still, at 800 points, it's a very low limit of might. You could be out-mighted out of the game by other heroes, elves, dwarfs, Isengard, or even another Mordor force with just more might, and that could be problematic. You are putting a lot of emphasis on the Taskmaster and hoping that you get free might points every time you use one, if they're in range. But looking at the way you've got things laid out, you're going to have to keep the Taskmaster very, very close to the Witch King, but also dare not risk losing it with the Orc Shaman or Taskmaster himself. Well, you won't, because Taskmaster's around himself anyway. Morannon Orcs are very, very good. Your only concern is, if broken, they've got low courage value. The Fellwargs are very, very good for sniffing out hidden models, elven cloaks, etc. And they have an excellent mobility. So yeah, I like those. The Warg Riders in there, I think the Fellwargs already take their positioning. You've got 5 and 5. I think you could use the points for your Warg Riders elsewhere. The Dwimlake, I think you'd be better off for the same points putting in I don't know, something with more might. Another ring rate, definitely. Possibly the Undyne, maybe even the Knight of Umbar with your mimicry. Something that will give you a punch, because your army seems to be based a lot on buffing and debuffing, and that's okay. It's a great symmetry, but I think you need something else other than just the poor Witch King. If your Witch King gets tied down with transfixes or compels, or starts getting sapped will, or anything of the sort, you're going to find that your main punching force is going to be just back down to the likes of your Morannon Orcs, which, as I said, their courage values can let you down. I'd swap out the Dwimlake most definitely. With that list, if you could fit in a Fell Beast, if you fancy fitting in a Fell Beast, if you feel comfortable using a Fell Beast, I'd get one in there. The ring rate I'd swap out, as I said, Dwimlake. What would I swap in? Knight of Umbar or the Undyne. Potentially even make the Undyne your general. I imagine at this point in time you've got the Witch King, a very thematic general indeed, but for longevity and survivability for your army, you might want to look something else. What you could do is you could drop the Shaman. You could bring in Kardash. Also has Fury and has the ability to tap away and instill will into both himself and eventually into a ring rate if he makes the ultimate sacrifice. You could drop the Warg Riders or even some of the Fellwargs and bring in some Hunter Orcs. The reason I mention, well, actually you won't be able to bring in Hunter Orcs, just basic Orcs. The reason I mention some basic Orcs is so that Kardash can feed off them to increase his will, which could potentially give you an ultimate, ongoing, inexhaustible fury potential there. The front line of Morannon Orcs is good. Yeah, I'd get in a Fell Beast. Lose the Dwimlake. Possibly put in Kardash over the Shaman. The Orc Taskmaster is a great idea, and get in a few basic Orcs. I think you could do a lot of damage with that army. Okay, well listen, I hope that's okay. I'm really sorry it's taken so long. Is it an overly competitive army? Could it be, even with those changes? I think you could rattle some people's feathers. I think played well, played right with the without throwing, if you put in a fell beast, without throwing that ad hoc into the fray too early, or keeping it back too late. The use of the Witch King on a horse is good for mobility. Do you need it as armoured? I don't know. You could pull another 5 points back out of there, which means that you could increase the chances for getting your fell beast without losing too many models. It would be an army I'd be concerned about with my personal army that I'm bringing to the GT, which is a fluffy one. It's also an army that I think fell beasts themselves would be cautious about, because you've got good casters in the Dwimlake and the Witch King. Swap the Dwimlake for the Undying, you've got better casters with a potential sustainability as well. Yeah. I'd like to play it. I would really like to play that army at Nova. I think it would be a fun army to play against, and I think you could do well. I think you could do well with it. Okay, well, if there's any more lists that you'd like to try and put forward, if there's any comments, as Owen would say, comment, like, share, subscribe below. Really appreciate that, and thanks for keeping an eye on the videos, and I look forward to some more list building stuff. Okay, cheerio now. Bye for now.